questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations again, Mr. Attorney General Garland. I wanted to applaud your March 30th memorandum, which directs a 30-day review and commitment to a whole-of-agency approach to addressing hate-based violence and incidents against the Asian Pacific American community. I appreciate so much your leadership and shows the community that their concerns are our government's concerns. As you know, May is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and I believe this month's celebration should be a clarion call for the community and our nation to shout that anti-Asian hate is unequivocally wrong. Can you share with this subcommittee what the findings and recommendations are? And what additional resources do you need to ensure the change you envision will succeed? And part two of this question is, while your memo discusses the need for better resources to combat hate crimes, you also state correctly that communities will need additional tools to heal after hateful incidents occur. There's a great role for DOJ's Community Relations Service to play in healing those affected by hate crimes and violence, including those who are the ones who commit the acts. Some communities are distrustful of law enforcement and attorneys' offices, but may be more receptive to someone from CRS for solutions that bring restorative justice and peace to their communities. So I wanted to ask, from your perspective, is CRS scalable, and how can we work, if increasing funds, that to work to ensure that CRS will engage with communities on the ground? And separately, how can DOJ help local community groups seek help outside of the criminal justice system, developing alternatives to carceral punishment for those convicted of hate crimes?
Well, you hit on a question that's I only recently realized was extremely important, not the hate crimes issue, but the community relations service one. So I'm very familiar with the service, it having been quite important the last time I was at the Justice Department and doing the kind of work you're talking about, in developing better relationships between communities, victims, and police. So one of the first things I did when we were all concerned about what might be happening in Minneapolis was to call and ask that members of the Community Relations Service to assess how many there were there and how many more could be brought. Sadly, I learned we only had about 26 or 27 total members of the Community Relations Service at this point. That service has, I would say, badly withered over the years, over quite a number of years. And so an important part of our request for a budget increase for the Civil Rights Division is to increase hiring for the Community Relations Service. So I think it's a very good point you raised, and I'm not sure that many people understand what good work the Community Relations Service can do. With respect to the hate crimes issue, a significant part also of the money increase for Civil Rights Division will go to hate crime prosecutions. The division does prosecute those, and with the additional money, we'll be able to look into that further. You're also right that prosecution isn't the only solution here. And so we have grant programs under the Office of Justice Programs that we're hoping to move in that direction. You asked for non-incarceral resolutions, and so part of that is what's called restorative justice, a chance for victims and victimizers to work, get together in a certain way to both reduce recidivism and to reduce the pain felt by the victim. So there are a number of, it's a pretty broad set of programs that we have available in this area.
Thank you so much. I really look forward to working with you on this issue.
Thank you.
I yield back.
Meng for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to ask about the issue of ghost guns, which are one of the fastest growing gun safety issues in our country. President Biden, as you know, spoke about this a few weeks ago and announced a number of steps to combat it. They lack identifying marks, they leave no paper trail, and can be acquired without even a background check. It's no wonder they are favored by gun traffickers who are flooding our cities with illegal guns and armed extremists looking to undermine our democracy. Ghost guns can be made with unregulated kits, parts, or 3D printers using computer codes. Despite President Biden's actions to stop the proliferation of ghost guns, I was discouraged to see that a court overturned a stay stopping the release of computer code used to print 3D guns. Can you explain your thoughts on how the DOJ could tackle this issue, including what you know about the prevalence of these weapons and how the department could address kits, parts, and 3D printed firearms?
Yes, well, you've identified a serious problem with respect to these so-called ghost guns. They are kits that sometimes described as buy, build, shoot kits, where virtually all of the components are contained in the kit, and with instructions for putting together into a gun within, sometimes within as little as 30 minutes. The problem is because they're not currently, it's not clear that they're defined as firearms themselves or as the frame or receiver of the firearm. They are not inscribed with a serial number, and there isn't a requirement for a background check before the purchase of the kit. This means somebody can get the gun who might be statutorily barred, say, for example, a former felon, from getting the kit and making the gun. And then once the gun is made, because it doesn't have a serial number, it's very difficult to trace. So the ATF has in the works right now, working up a proposal for rulemaking, which should be called a notice of proposed rulemaking, which should be coming out pretty soon. To address this question, there'll be a rulemaking period, and then, depending on the result, a regulation with respect to ghost guns.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.